Welcome, everybody, and I'm glad to see everybody here for our after show. Today we have with us Casey Roberts. Casey has just been with us for 2 sessions on his perspectives on cannabis. Casey, a two-parter. This is a first for you.
It is indeed, at least with the Insurance Journal, to do a two-parter. And as you and I were discussing after we were done with the recording, there's a lot in there. So, you know, I don't know how we could have compressed it into anything less than, and it's almost 2 full hours.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. There was so much in that, but this has been the year to innovate with you. We had the hour that we did where we talked about our favorite and least favorite commercial property endorsements. And then you did this 2-part session. I mean, we're breaking ground with Casey Roberts here.
Well, it's, you know, I would expect you to have higher standards, Patrick, but I'm glad you don't.
And that is why we keep inviting you back.
Well, you know what? If one cannot be self-deprecating, one should not be deprecating at all.
This is correct. There's nobody that deserves to be laughed at more than me.
Well, I don't know. We could put that to a contest, I'm thinking. So.
Oh, it's one of the things about doing these after shows is I'll put them up on my LinkedIn profile and we share them through. They all live on the website insurancejournal.tv. And there was some conversation today, I think from Tuesday's after show, different presenters that we've had their comments are all the same. We love to do this. This is, and to me, this is a great time to get to know the instructor a little bit, dive into the content maybe, or dive into something off to the side of the content.
Well, and to me, it's, you're on, when you're teaching, you're on, and you teach. So you understand. I mean, as an example, we did that one where you and I worked together, which was great fun. And that's the advantage we have as being instructors, is that we get to know different people and get different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And you and I were talking earlier today about what the New Mexico, totally off topic, what the New Mexico Supreme Court just recently decided about a service station selling gas being responsible in an auto loss for someone who is driving under the influence of alcohol, right? And I go, well, Patrick, I got to throw that at you and just see what you think, because I know what I think. I think they're whack, but but again, that's why we teach and why we like talking to each other, and doing this afterwards is just, the after show is just great, because it's, again, it can be wide ranging. We don't always stay on topic, as anyone who's been with us knows.
It's almost impossible, I think. One of the things that you mentioned today that was really intriguing to me was the idea of potency limits for THC levels. And so if I heard you right, some states are recommending a tax based on potency.
That is correct. Some states, I know New York is looking at that based upon the THC content, which is a psychoactive portion once it's above 0.3%, they're looking at having a different tax rate based upon the THC content of the edible or the smokable, or the cannabis product itself, which I find interesting. I've got to do some research, and I've not done this, so I apologize. I think alcohol as a consumer product per se is taxed in that manner to a certain degree already. As an example, wine is at a certain level, is based on alcoholic content, but then fortified wine, which has a higher alcohol content, I believe is taxed a little differently. I'm not certain. So it's not that there wouldn't be precedence for it. right? But my concern is, always the law of unintended consequences, which we always seem to find out about the hard way, which is, well, if you start taxing and or limiting the amount of THC in the legal product, I think you're asking for trouble still on the black market or on the illegal product side, because you're just saying to someone else, all you can get here is X amount of THC, whatever the number is. Let's say 5%. I don't care what the number is. But if you go here off grid, the black market, you can get 10, 15, 20. I think you're just going to be driving people that are looking for a certain different high to go on, and encourage them to break the law. But again,
sure. Yeah, and that was the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was, I wonder if alcohol is done taxed in a similar way, and so that I guess there is a precedent for it. And you mentioned pushing people into the black market or the illicit market. I read an article that a year after nationally Canada had legalized recreational use marijuana, their estimates of the illicit trade were as high as ever, and their legal purchases were nowhere near what they thought they would.
I remember reading that as well. It was probably on one of those great news feeds, like that insurancejournal.com one is what I'm thinking. Yeah, sporting the shirt, well done, man. But I remember reading that as well. And I know that they're trying to figure out why. And I don't know what the Canadian laws are, what they limit and what they don't. So, but again,
well, I mean, to me, I think that in many instances, there shouldn't be much question as to why something like that happens. It's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be tied to either they can't get the product they want, like you were talking about, the strength, or it's an economic thing. I can get it from my friend over here. I can get it from this guy for half what it costs me over here, and nobody's tracking it like they are over here. And those are to me simple reasons, but this is a complicated issue. One of the things that you'd mentioned a couple of times, and it may have been just in conversations on the side, but I think we both know people in the industry that don't want to touch this topic.
Oh, yeah,
they don't want to touch the topic because for whatever reason, it may be a moral thing or a religious thing or whatever it is, but we're professionals dealing in an industry. We got to deal with this.
Well, we do. At least to me, it makes sense. A good friend of mine will not touch the topic at all, and that's just and she doesn't like the topic. She doesn't think it should be legalized, and so she's just not going to go there. And I respect her for that, and I respect that thought. I just disagree. I think, to me, it's almost akin to, well, if I'm such an environmentalist that I can't stand the use of coal as a generator of power, well, then I shouldn't, as an insurance person, talk about insuring the coal industry. It's, they've got a need. We've got a product. It's still a legitimate business, whether you agree with it from an environmental standpoint or political standpoint. Totally different discussion as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that for the politics aside, the decisions have been made in multiple jurisdictions, and more decisions coming down the road, as you had talked about some of the things going on a federal level to either decriminalize. I thought it was interesting. You mentioned the MORE Act and the idea being decriminalize, legalize, and then remove from as a Schedule I drug, because decriminalizing and legalizing are two different things.
Yes. Oh, yes, without a doubt. And if they decriminalize it, then I think we're going to have to, that's going to have an interesting effect on those that are behind bars, if you will, for their criminal acts related to marijuana at a particular time frame. I would imagine they will decriminalize it eventually, and I think it'll be tied to a certain amount of possession or weight or something of that nature. Just so again, somewhere along the lines of alcohol, from the standpoint of, hey, if I'm out in the woods running the still and I'm not paying my federal taxes on it, they're going to bust me. And the same thing here. And again, we've already got some of the infrastructure for that from a standpoint of the legal basis, and also I don't think it'd be that difficult.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I read an article about the decriminalization of effort in New York, I believe, where they're going to the steps of getting people out of jail or out of state prisons on particular drug charges or marijuana charges, and actually expunging their records and making it as if it never happened from a paperwork standpoint. But of course, I mean, it did, but that's another that's another part of it altogether.
Yeah.
It's a complicated issue, and it's not going to be resolved quickly, I don't think. Even with these federal these legislative actions going on, those things can take months, if not years, not just to pass, but to implement afterwards.
Right. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the law gets passed, but then once the law is passed, now we have to have rules and regs insofar as the implementation and enforcement of it. And that's where the devil does lie in those details.
Absolutely.
And the law is going to give us a direction and an intent, but how it is finally broken down into actually being enforced and written as enforced, that's a fascinating area. And that's where you get all sorts of other outside influences involved in the writing of laws.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Casey, thanks again for being with us twice this week. And
my pleasure.
We look forward to the next time having you with us. I don't know when it is off the top of my head, but it is soon, because I was just reaching out to you about some information about your next class. So.
Yeah, I know, which means I've got to get to work again. So I've got job security, Patrick. Thanks. The next one I know is something on cyber. I can't remember what the heck we agreed to.
That's right. There's some policy analysis.
Ooh, dangerous stuff, man. Dangerous stuff. I'm going to have to RTSP. Read the stinking policy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Maybe twice.
Or maybe two different policies. That would be better.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. So anyway, thanks again. And we appreciate all that you do with us. And folks, on behalf of Casey Roberts and the Academy of Insurance, I'm Patrick Raitt. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Patrick.